Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. This is video part 3 on the Murray Select 12 horsepower 30-inch cut lawnmower. We have some good news. Good news is the lawnmower turns. It cranks up. And the other thing is that the solenoid, the starter solenoid is bad. And as you can tell, I had to take it out. It goes right there. So the thing is that I had to look at a video last night to see exactly where some of the components went, because some of the components were missing. I did get a brand new throttle, brand new carburetor, and I end up putting it right here. And come to find out, yes, on my old carburetor, this thing was seized here. Because it moves like it should. This line here, throttle line, this throttle cable was already bent up, so I'm trying to bend it back as much as I possibly can, or try to find a new one, because this thing here is kind of destroyed, but it still pulls back like it should. I found out that this little metal cable, this thin metal cable here, goes in this little hole, but it's not bent. And the other one goes right here on this one. It was a little pain in the butt, but I found out you had to put this on before you put the carburetor on, which was the easiest route. And the reason for this gasket maker, sad to say, but when I bought it, everyone that I see is the actual kit. So the problem is that they sold me the wrong gasket for this. The other gasket was like 5 times bigger than normal size. Amazon doesn't carry the gasket that's made to fit it, which is kind of weird because the carburetor fits great, but the gasket did not. It didn't even come with a gasket for the center. So I went to a parts warehouse looking for an actual gasket, can't seem to find one. So I actually went to like 5 or 6 different part warehouses, did some digging, and all the ones I see are just way too big. So I'm assuming they're made for the newer lawnmowers. So I went ahead and put a shitload of gasket maker on this end to try to keep it sealed. But I used the original gasket that was on the old carburetor onto this one, because it didn't come with one, and it was still in okay shape, wasn't ripped up or anything. So it was good enough to put gasket maker on the inside to hold it in place. I wire brushed these bolts off so they're nice and clean and not greasy anymore. And I also put gasket maker on the outside to try to seal it better. But here, I can't really guarantee. Now, just remember, this is just a project lawnmower. This is not something I'm probably going to use on a daily use. This is just enough to get it to crank. But this stuff here is done right. I just don't like how these cables are all bent up. And actually, the spring that's in here for this throttle is actually good too. You can't really see it, but it's actually good. So I did put a brand new spark plug in, and it does fire up, so this thing does work. I did put oil in it. There was no oil in it when I got it, and I went to the junkyard today and picked up the oil dipstick tube for this. And just to remind you, this 12.0 horsepower takes 48 ounces of engine oil, so it's got clean oil in it. So when I hooked the brand new battery up and everything, you got to hold the clutch down, and the ignition does work, because it was going click, 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 and this was starting to turn this, and that's how I knew it wasn't seized. So for me to verify and give a little more information on how I knew this, is that when I hooked the solenoid up, it went click, 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 click. Then the fuse blew. Put another 15 amp fuse in there. And so when I go hold the clutch down, it was going click, 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 click. And it was moving this an inch every time I kept, trying to crank it. So I did a trick with a flathead screwdriver. Just remind you, this is not a flathead, this is a Phillips, but I'm just going to make an example. So I stuck the flathead screwdriver in between both bolts that holds the starter power cable and the battery's positive. And once I did that and hold that down at the same time, while trying to hold that down, the stretch of my arms all the way out, this thing went, the whole engine turned, and it was almost about to crank. So that's how I knew this solenoid was bad, because the starter and the engine was spinning perfectly. And plus, there was a whistling sound coming from over here. Like it was like, it kind of sounded like those little teapots that make a hissing sound when they're done. That's what that sounded like. So, but that's how you know if your solenoid is bad. You put a screwdriver in between it. If it sparks and it turns over, then that means that the starter is bad. I mean, the solenoid is bad. If you do it again and the engine doesn't turn at all, even with a brand new solenoid, then that means the starter's bad. But in my luck, starter's good, solenoid is not. So me trying to find the compatible solenoid, I cannot find one for this particular lawnmower. They have the Briggs ones, but mine was the 3-pole. It had the two for the cables, the two studs for the cables, and it had the little small connector piece, looks like a speaker connector, and it slides on there. Mine's a 3-pole. So I had to buy a universal one, because I went onto some Part Warehouse websites. They have one, but it's not telling me it's compatible with this engine. So all the ones the one that I seen that said it was compatible with this model lawnmower, it actually was $25, and it was but only difference is that the 3rd pole connector that goes on for that little small connector that slides on there, it was on the right side instead of the left side. So maybe they just changed them. So I ended up getting a universal 3-pole that's made for the Briggs, and it's also made for Husky and another lawnmower that I haven't heard of. And it's a 12-volt 3-pole, and it says it's compatible even with the Murray riding lawnmowers as well. So I think if it's universal, I think it should be okay, because I did do another check on the other ones that were not compatible, and each one of them seems to be 12 volt. I did not want to get a 4-pole, because 4 poles is like what most of the newer lawnmowers use, like the Craftsman lawnmowers and the John Deere ones. They are all using like 4 poles, and I decided just to get the same one that I had, but it's not really, it's the same, but it's just a universal. So I don't know much about the universal ones, but it says it's good. It's got a 5-star rating, so I'm hoping it would work. And just so y'all also know, I did put fresh gasoline in it, but last night I forgot and didn't realize that there was a bunch of trash in this actual tank. So before I put gasoline in it, I took the whole tank out, put all brand new clamps on the hoses, even on the back, stuck this thing, put some hot water and bleach in it, shook it up real good, let it sit for like a few hours, and this tank looks like it's brand spanking new. There was no gunk in it. When I put it when I put it out in the sink, there was just tons of hard grudge, like dirt and leaves, and they got it all out. I didn't want that going into the engine, because I want the engine to be healthy as possible since how long it's been sitting. So yeah, that's all good to go. So since I know the motor runs, I'm going to spray paint this motor, make it look like it's brand new. I'm going to clean this up and get all this put back together as well. I also had to put this cable back on that runs to this actual clutch, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't going on. And I couldn't find that little clip, and I found it, and I got it to where it works, where it engages in the back, and it's actually working now. But yeah, at least so far I'm doing a great job. So we're just going to call it that. And I did get another top piece with the screen and with the starter cover and everything, so we'll be good to go on that as well. And probably get some new tires. And like I said, it's a free lawnmower. I'm not really wasting much on it. I mean, the deck is kind of rusted, but if it can't be used, it'd be good just to play around with, basically. Well, I hope this video helps, and I will make a video part 4 once it's 100% up and running and drivable. So please subscribe to my channel today, and please click on the links below the description. Got my website. You can visit us on Twitter and on Facebook as well. And you can also visit our website to get the latest downloads, like video games, software. Check out our video gallery on all the other videos that we have on YouTube as well. And y'all have a great one.